Hey there, my sweet friends. Welcome or welcome back if you're new. I hope you are all well. I'm very excited to be sharing details on our upcoming 12 Days of Christmas in July series, and we're going to do that at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. For today, we're going to be creating a sweet and simple pocket folio, and this has a very easy to create diagonal pocket, and this version has room for lots of these fun inserts. I've also decorated the pockets, and this is going to be our sweet and simple version. And then I'm also going to share at the end of the video an updated version with more of my usual embellishments and trims. So stick around for that as well. And if that sounds good to you, then we will make it together. I'm just going to mention really quickly before we get started that I am very sorry in advance if the lighting is not up to my usual quality. We have just come back from a 6-week trip staying at the lakes here in Michigan, and I had to set up my filming area by myself without the help of Tech Hubby, who usually does a fantastic job, and we are so thankful for him. But I think we can make it work, and even if it's not perfect, he will be back before the next video, so I can take care of that and we'll just work through it. So I'm working with the Farmhouse Summer Collection from Carta. I absolutely love it. I have enjoyed all of those beautiful geometrics and floral prints. Has a ton of cut aparts that I have really liked as well. And so I think you could consider this a project that any collection will work with, and for sure consider all of those holiday folios that you want to make. This will be perfect for that. I am going to break a rule that I usually make, and that is to match my 2-page layouts. And that is unusual for me, but I do want to practice what I preach. And I always say, if you are going through your stash, use up those papers. So that's what we're going to do today. And we're not going to match, but that's okay. We're going to get through it. And that makes room for new supplies in our stash. So that is what we're going to work on today. So this is going to be a really simple diagonal pocket to make. And we're going to start with our pattern paper. It's 6.5 high by 12 wide. I have a little bit of that border strip showing, but it will be hidden in the score lines, so not to worry about that. The first thing we want to do is bring in our scoreboard, and I'm just going to come in and score that at 6 inches. Well, this is going to be a nice wide pocket. Now I'm just going to flip that over, and I'll score it here on the side where that border strip is so that I can hide that in the layers. Now, Carta is a pretty thick paper, and so you're going to want to have a couple of passes here. Don't press too hard so that you don't accidentally go through that paper, but make it easy on yourself to get that fold. And I want my pocket to be having the diagonal going in this direction because it will be on the right-hand side. So before I do anything else, I'm going to bring in my guillotine cutter. And I'm going to cut going from this corner in the top, middle, all the way down to that score line. I just find this much easier to do this when you can get it lined up along that straight edge blade. This is going to leave us a triangle, and we can use that for a later project. I'll use my score tool to just reinforce that crease. Now I'll come in and fold it from the bottom half as well. So I'm just kind of folding that up gently so that I don't get any cracking of the paper so that the white core would show. Now go ahead and run your score tool along that again to get a nice crisp crease. So you want to come in now and remove this portion because that will help us to get a better fold and reduce some of the bulk that would otherwise be behind. So you just take your time and cut that very carefully. For my finished project I'm sharing, I just went ahead and cut that with my guillotine cutter since I had it out, and I felt that was pretty easy and a nicer way to get a good crisp line. So I cut that up until the part where those lines intersected. And then I'm also going to come in and just nip off this corner to reduce more of that bulk. I'm going to add my tombow here along the bottom. Then fold that over and go ahead and press that flap up. And so this is going to be the bottom of your pocket. Because it wraps behind, you're going to get a lot of room in there for the inserts that you want to add. Because that's a wet glue, you would want to press on that till you get a good contact and wait for that glue to set up. In the meantime, I'm just going to come in and add a layer of my double-sided adhesive. And now I have the pocket for my right-hand page. I did the same exact process with the same measurements. And here is where my mix and match is coming in. But because it's from the same collection, I know that all of these are really designed to work together. So of course it's going to match well. Now I need to attach these to something so that they become that folio. So I've got these pieces cut for my cover. The back piece is going to be 6 by 6. And then the front piece is going to be 6 inches high as well, but this time it's 6 3/4. I'm going to score it at 6 and then also 6 1/4. And so this is going to give me a 1/2 inch to adhere the back piece on. And so I do want to stick with my 2 glue combo for that. And if you hear that noise, it will be the sump pump going, because it has rained all night and day. We're getting the remnants of that hurricane barrel, and so we're just getting a lot of rain here in Michigan, and so the sump pump is just going off. So pardon that noise in the background. So I've got my double-sided tape on, and then I'm also going to add my layer of tombow. Then I'll just fold that up so I can work these corners in together. That way I am sure that they will operate perfectly. Getting that all lined up, press it into place. I'm not too concerned about the pattern showing in this small section that will be the spine, but the rest of this pattern is going to get covered up with our pocket pages, so I'm not concerned about that either. And also it will add quite a bit of sturdiness to this folio. It's going to be a quick folio where you're not making a hardcover for it, but we do still want it to be sturdy and hold up well. So let's set that aside just for a second and bring that pocket back in. So we're going to continue with that 2 glue combo, and so that we are well assured that these are going to stay in place. You can see on this one a little bit more of that border strip showing. Now, I think it is natural whenever you start scoring and folding paper that you will pick up a little bit of extra space, and so I'm going to recommend adding this to the bottom. And that way, if you do have to trim any off to get it to fit perfectly, you'll just be taking that off the top and it won't show. I anticipate that happening here, and so I'm going to just line that up on the bottom, and we'll see how it goes. Put that right into the corner and along the side. And then give that a good press so that it's well secured. And actually, I don't need to trim that. It worked out pretty well. So let's go ahead and do that same step for the right-hand side. going to make sure those pockets are oriented in that direction so that it will keep all of those inserts from coming out when the book is folded up. Keeping it nice and square and even. Just going to check to make sure. Yep, that looks good. So I'm going to add some additional layering for these pockets. I thought it would be nice to incorporate a die cut doily here right along the bottom, and then top it with a die cut of the paper from the collection. I'm going to match these, and so I've got the same white doily and the same circle for this side as well. And then I used my Be Bold Bloom die from Spellbinders and just created some flowers from some scrap cardstock that would coordinate with that kind of vintagey yellow. I'm just going to add that to this bottom section here, and that will create a nice balance. Now for the inside, I'm going to take advantage of those fun cut apart images, and so this particular collection had a sheet that was 4x6 cut aparts with that beautiful wreath and the labels. So I decided for them to fit better in the pocket that I would go ahead and trim down to where that natural border is. So you've got room on the back for your larger pictures, and this kind of whitewash wood is going to be perfect if you want to add your journaling to that. You can write directly onto the journal card and then even add that label. So let's put a couple in each side here. That way we can have lots of opportunities to do those pictures and journaling. And then of course I did like a couple of these other 4x4 cut aparts, so let's put those in there as well. Now there is more room in here if you have a flat keepsake or mementos that you want to incorporate, but you don't want to glue down to anything. So let's fold that up and work on the cover. And because we're doing sweet and simple, we're going to skip the ribbon for this folio, and then we're going to go right to our focal image, which was one of the cut apart images, and I just use a scalloped edge square die to cut that out in a more interesting shape. I did pop that up on foam tabs there so that we can build a little bit of dimension. Now, I'm not really crazy about the welcome in the center of that picture, so I just want to swap that out for one of the sentiment strips that was included in the collection. I cut that out, and then I popped that up on some of those foam tabs that are not quite as thick, and so I just get a little bump from that to give it some height on top of our focal image. So last but not least, I'm gonna finish that off with a little flower arrangement. Now I did create these with that Be Bold Bloom die again, and I just picked some cardstock that would match my sentiment strip, but that's going to be our super simple version of that. And of course, if you were creating for a craft fair or something like that, you could really knock these out pretty quickly. And I think it's just so sweet to have these pockets filled with the inserts that were the cut apart, so all those images are going to coordinate perfectly, and then the addition of the flowers just kind of really elevates it to a nicer handmade object. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other folio. And of course, because it's Christmas in July, I did want to create one with a Christmas collection. I elevated this one even more by adding more of my traditional embellishments and trims, and so I did add ribbon. I've got some sequins here and some pretty little charms. For the flowers, I did shape these so they have some dimension, and I've added my netting and twine here and put some more dimensional stamens in the center to finish them off. And of course, I've got my pockets on the inside. Now, I did have these finished in the same fashion as our first folio, but I did not have any 4x6 journal cards so that I could get the height that I wanted to fill it. So I wound up utilizing the portion of that poinsettia paper that I cut off, and I flipped it around, and then I just added it to a piece of scrap that would have been on the cover. So I'm just continuing to get use out of that paper, and then I glued it here on the outside, and so I can get a pocket in a pocket. See how cute that is? Now I can just tuck these images into it, and then maybe tap it with one of the 4x4, and then just tuck that down into the pocket. So you can also add pictures to the back of this as well. So lots of places to keep your memories. And then, like in the other folio, there is room for more flat keepsakes or mementos there. If you have a collection like this one, it did come with a sticker sheet, and so you could maybe incorporate some of those into a small sticker collage and finish this off even further. I did incorporate that same idea, but I switched out the flower so that it would be a poinsettia, just to be a little bit more festive. And then of course I'm adding some pretty plaid ribbon that coordinates just to tie this up. So that's the same measurements in the same process, but I did add a couple of extra finishing details that I would typically add for greeting cards or my other folios. So that's going to be all for this video. Now I did want to share with you a quick update for our Christmas in July series. So it will be starting on the 20th, and I did receive most of the supplies I ordered today for the series. It's all going to be linkable so that if you're inspired to create a project similar to the one I'm showing, you could do that. And I will be sharing a haul in next week's video so that you can see all those supplies in case you want to get a head start, or maybe you've already got them in your stash. So that's going to be 12 Days of Christmas starting July 20th and running for the rest of the month. So I hope that you're looking forward to that. And if there's any more details I need to share, I will do that in next week's video when we have the haul. So that's going to be it. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find links for these collections and the trim in the description below. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day. I thank you so much for watching. Bye.